Is SueMiTerry, director of the Asia program at the Wilson Center, also a former director for Korea, Japan, and Oceanic Affairs at the National Security Council. Very good to have you on the broadcast. Thanks for joining me. So in an article previewing this trip, you wrote, if Biden and Yoon seize these opportunities, their summit can be more than a photo op. It can be the first step toward expanding and deepening the alliance for the challenges ahead. After the joint press conference today, do you think this summit is indeed more than a photo op? What are your big takeaways thus far?
Yeah, I think so. That joint statement was very long and fairly comprehensive. President Yoon, the new South Korean president, talked about turning South Korea into a global pivotal state. And so they had a long list of things that they wanted to cooperate on, from economics, trade, supply chain resilience, to public health, to cyber, and to, of course, dealing with North Korea. So I'm satisfied in terms of the direction they're headed. I think the two allies are ideologically aligned. So we'll see. We'll see what happens in the future, but I think it's a very good start.
Okay. The president is reportedly not visiting the DMZ, the demilitarized zone, during this trip, as far as we know. Is that because of security concerns, and how much would that even matter anyway?
I don't think it matters. I think they were pretty strong in their statement in what they're going to do about North Korea. United States reaffirmed U.S. extended deterrence that we have, commitment to South Korea. They talked about enlarging or expanding the U.S. ROK joint exercises that have been curtailed in recent years. They talked about bringing strategic assets to South Korea. They talked about being on the same page when it comes to North Korea policy. So I really don't think it matters that President Biden decided not to stop by DMZ on this trip.
Ahead of this trip, you know that National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan said there were indications North Korea could conduct a missile launch, perhaps a nuclear test, and do this while President Biden's in Asia. You heard President Biden say that he would consider meeting with Kim Jong-un if he were sincere and serious. Do you envision any scenario where President Biden and Kim Jong-un actually meet?
I really don't, and certainly not this year. North Korea has really amped up its missile tests. They conducted 16 missile tests this year alone. They are committed to expanding, modernizing their nuclear missile arsenal, diversifying their capability, and that's the path that Kim Jong-un is on. United States have offered to sit down with Kim Jong-un and said, hey, anytime, any place, and Kim Jong-un has not taken it. And I think right now thinks external environment is actually favorable for more provocations because Russia and China are not on board with the United States. United Nations Security Council could even condemn last ICBM launch that was conducted. So I think, for the foreseeable future, Alex, I don't see us getting back to negotiations or Biden meeting with Kim Jong-un.
Sumi, something that was interesting in this article, you write about the similarities between these two leaders, President Biden being considered center-left and the president of South Korea being considered center-right. But in terms of their personalities, they're a lot alike. I mean, they're both pet lovers. That was something you noted. Talk about how important that is, that sort of chemistry between the two.
I do think having a right chemistry between the leaders and having a good rapport is very important. I mean, it is, they are not countries. They're also the leaders that are, trying to conduct policy and move forward. So I do think it's important. They're both from sort of a middle-class background, if that's okay to say. They're kind of folksy, down to earth. President Yoon apparently likes cooking and buying his own groceries. And, he's supposed to be a good cook. He stops by markets and grab tteokbokki or street food. Biden likes going to, ice cream stops, right? He loves pizza. He loves ice cream. The way they have a very folksy way of speaking. So I do think they are, in terms of style, they're similar. And again, ideologically, oftentimes when we had a very conservative president here, we had a progressive president in South Korea. So even though we talked about U.S. and South Korea being aligned, sometimes they were not so aligned. But now we have a chance. They're ideologically aligned, their style is similar. So we'll see. I hope that, U.S. and South Korea alliance gets even further strengthened in the next years to come.
Yep, it very well may be further strengthened. Moving on to Japan, that is because the president heads there next. We have Reuters reporting that advisors and analysts say the president is carrying a very clear message to China. Do not try what Russia did in Ukraine anywhere in Asia, and especially not in Taiwan. How critical is that message for this trip, and do you think it's being effectively sent?
I think it is being effectively sent just by Biden stopping in South Korea, meeting with the new South Korean president, and now going to Japan. And what's on the agenda? We're talking about, just when we talk about China, we don't might have to say the word China, but just even talking about supply chains, Indo-Pacific economic framework. When you look at what's on the agenda, we are talking about China. So it is sending a strong message. The U.S. is coordinating very closely with our closest allies in the region, South Korea and Japan, and that's how we're going to be dealing with China, by strengthening our alliance relationship with our two closest allies in the region.